when Apple announced the iPad on January 27, 2010. Like many individuals in the tech community, I first thought that this was just a giant iPhone or a giant iPod Touch. But what other route would have Apple taken with the iPad? Can you guys really imagine a full-featured operating system such as OS X running on the iPad? Although this is what I primarily wanted, I just can't imagine the Apple iPad, a fully touch-sensitive device, running OS X effectively, enjoyably, and easily. For that reason, I think Apple made the right decision to stick with a more iPhone-like OS. But why is having an iPhone-like OS a bad thing? What if we didn't have an iPhone, or what if we didn't even have an iPod Touch? Then, when Apple announced the iPad, it would have looked like the most incredible device. But we do have an iPhone, and we do have an iPod Touch, so we're taking the iPad for granted, because at the core, it's still an incredible device. The only reason we're not impressed is because we feel as though we've already seen everything. We've seen everything with the iPhone, and we've seen everything with the iPod Touch. But what would have Apple done to change things? The reality is, the iPhone and the iPod Touch operating system is brilliant, and there's not much you can do to change it right now. Although there are some inadequacies in terms of multitasking, it's still a brilliant operating system, and that's why it's changed so little in the last 3 years. But did Apple really want to implement multitasking in the iPad? I really don't think so. I think Apple's goal was to create a device that could implement individual tasks brilliantly, rather than taking on a multitude of tasks and failing at all of them. No. Instead, the iPad is going to be brilliant for viewing photos on, watching movies, sending emails, web browsing, reading on, gaming on, and more. So this is why Apple didn't put OS X on the iPad. They concentrated on having a few things run brilliantly rather than having a multitude of things running terribly.